Welcome to Black Mesa Uplink. These commentary notes will guide you through the development of this modification and explain the various design choices I had to make while making this remake. For the full experience, I would advise you to play the original version of Uplink first. I hope you enjoy playing it as much as I enjoyed making it. These characters use the same audio tracks as in the original version of Uplink from 1999. It's interesting to see how next generation technology such as the Source engine and Facebolts really brings the scene to life. The crowbar is probably the most magical weapon ever designed. From the minute you pick it up, you just want to smash everything with it. This urge is probably the only logical explanation why you would ever discover the secret behind the vending machine.
Watch your head, Doc. You asked for it!
While most of the original design remains intact, the warehouse has changed quite a bit for the sake of realism and gameplay. The extended walkway and the freight elevator create an interesting fight with the soldiers. The puzzle has also received an additional dimension. Now that the doors are closed, the player needs to look around for another way out. The use of light helps the player find the components of the puzzle, such as the spotlight near the crane controls and the faint red light behind the ventilation grate. In the original version of Uplink, you would face this machine gun in a way smaller area, which made it quite inefficient. Running straight into it isn't the best option, but the grenades you found earlier will give you a clue on how to deal with it. Afterwards, you can use the gun against the enemy by luring them back into this area. While most of the remake stays close to the original, this area has been completely redesigned. Back then, large areas like these were not possible, so the designers made a small mountain passage leading up to the dome, which is not very realistic. The additional space gives me a chance to show how the soldiers were in the process of setting up a forward base of operations. The dome took me a long time to create, mostly because of its design. Why Valve put a big satellite receiver inside a concrete dome was hard to understand, but I've tried various other designs which made more sense. In the end, however, I realized this dome was an iconic landmark of Uplink, which I simply had to keep intact. Therefore, it still doesn't make any sense, but as long as it's fun, right? The light in this area is not caused by the skylight, but is created by projected textures. In this case, it uses geometry of the grate to cast light and shadows. This nifty entity was introduced to Source with the release of Episode 2 back in 2007. In the original version of Uplink, the zombies would throw over consoles to block the player's path. In rest of Half-Life, I have not seen zombies that intelligent, so I decided to let them hide in dark corners. It somehow suits their behavior more. The hound eye leading you into the ambush still remains though. To make the voices seem to come from behind the door, I set up a speaker entity to play the audio track, but because of an engine bug, subtitles would only play if an NPC uses the audio track, and therefore there's an invisible scientist somewhere in this room. This is a nice example of how you sometimes have to rely on out-of-the-box solutions if you can't fix the code yourself.
What's that sound? Don't panic.
I've adjusted the final sequence with the Gargantua to add more suspense to it. There's more foreshadowing of what is about to happen, and the action sequence in which the guard kills off the security guard and the scientist and finally turns to finish off the player is also a lot faster. This way he seems more vicious and intelligent than in the original sequence. Right before the end, our mutual friend appears to check on your progress. See if you can spot him. I hope you've enjoyed this remake and I thank you for playing.